Hello, welcome to the 2010 NFL preseason schedule, Week 3 picks. We'll start off on August 26th between the Rams and the Patriots. Well, there's good news for a stumbling Rams organization because they got a new owner alongside a start of 1-1. Regaining fan support, well, that won't be easy because, well, it still can be done. It's a given that New England's the favorite because of a better start, but St. Louis has a whole lot of things to see and work on since things are looking somewhat better, so I'll lean on the Patriots 27-17. Now at 7 o'clock on ESPN, 7 o'clock Central Time, Aaron Rodgers has shown that the team's in good hands for the next 10 years, and both teams have offenses that can make a Super Bowl run. Indianapolis must play with smash mouth football because Green Bay will be running away very heavily. I'll say Packers 38-34. Next up, on August 27th, it is Atlanta at Miami. Now the starters will determine the outcome. It's close to call since these teams were in the playoffs 2 years ago. Miami will take a close one with a duo of Henne and Marshall, which could be too much for the improved secondary of Atlanta to contain. So 23-21 Dolphins. 6 o'clock Central Time, August 27th, Washington at New York Jets. There have been some leaks on the Redskins O-line, and that's a warning to opposing centers and guards. Chris Jenkins draws double teams, and his pressure changes the complexion of the Jets' defense. I would like to see 3 to 4 turnovers because of the behemoth Chris Jenkins. 20-16 Jets. Next up, 7 o'clock Central Time, CBS, San Diego at New York. At New Orleans, my bad. New Orleans has special teams woes to consider, but watching Darren Sproles, well, that scares the hell out of me. But you'd think I wouldn't say this. Reggie Bush could be the biggest playmaker because he looks better between the tackles, and especially since he runs north and south. But it should be fun. 37-32 Saints. And then the final game on August 27th at 7 o'clock Central Time, Eagles at Chiefs. Kansas City has been apparently weak on offense, especially against the tissue-soft Atlanta defense a couple weeks ago, since they have only scored 23 points thus far in the preseason. Second worst in the NFL, the worst in the AFC so far. Andy Reid still likes the changes he sees around him, so I'll say 36-11 Eagles. Now next up we got the Browns at the Lions. 4 o'clock Central Time on August 28th. Confidence has been brewing and pieces are in place for Detroit. However, Cleveland's been a mess everywhere, and Colt McCoy needs to start getting used to the speed around him. Otherwise, Delhomme, or if I should say Delhomme, is just one 4-interception game away from retiring. So I'll say Lions 28-16. 5:30 Central Time, Cincinnati at Buffalo. Cincinnati has too many offensive weapons, and especially on their first team. And without Jarius Byrd in the back end for Buffalo, this could get out of control. I'll say Bengals 31-9. At 6:30 Central Time, Jaguars at Buccaneers. The way Josh Johnson plays could determine this a win for Jacksonville. But Maurice Jones-Drew just needs to get things going offensively, and they'll really prevail on the win. I'll say Jaguars 22-13. At 6:30 Central Time, it's the Giants at the Ravens. The defense for Baltimore will keep Manning in check, and the reserves should pull off a good impression in the second half. I'll say 31-27 Ravens. At 7 o'clock Central Time on CBS, it's Dallas at Houston. Matters won't be taken too seriously for Houston. The first teamers couldn't produce, and the second teamers weren't getting stronger as the game went along in New Orleans. I'll say Cowboys 21-6. At 7 o'clock Central Time, it is the Titans and the Panthers. Not having Steve Smith in the lineup is a problem, and Jimmy Clausen and Tony Pike are extremely young as they will go through bumps this year. Tennessee looks closer to the team that finished the season decently, so I'll say 41-17 Titans. At 7 o'clock Central Time, it's the Seahawks and the Vikings. Toby Gerhart's got to be a workhorse. He's got to get 15 to 20 or even more touches. And all the receivers must fill great shoes if they still want to compete, since now that the receivers have been humming around in the air, with Harvin being ill and Rice having to get a surgery. So guys like Schenkel, Darius Renard, Jeff Dugan, and Mills will have to produce greatly. Well, I'll say Vikings 20-12. At 7:30 Central Time, it's Arizona at Chicago. Chicago should have enough to come away. Arizona's quarterbacks look unsettled, and the personnel's in place for Chicago to have a very decent game. So I'll say 32-13 Bears. Then at 8 o'clock Central Time, it is San Francisco at Oakland. This one is a tough one to call, but I would expect a low-scoring game in the Bay Area, especially in the trenches. But I'll lean on Oakland mercifully. Very low scoring, like I said. I'll say Oakland 9-6. And then we finally conclude Week 3 on Sunday Night Football, not on NBC, but on Fox, between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos. The Pittsburgh quarterbacks have enough to put up consecutive points on the Denver defense. This is pretty much a handicap to win. It's given. Steelers win, even if it's at the 1-point line, the itty-bitty 1-point line. 32-24 Steelers. And so those are my Week 3 picks of the 2010 NFL preseason. Now I must ask, who you got?